Over the past few years, specifically the last couple of years with films like Midsommar and Hereditary, we have been shown that there are still quite a few original stories needing to be told. However, although there are good movies hidden like a gem in the sand, there are still a ton of awful ones that people just won't seem to stop distributing. So today on Top 5 Scary Videos, I'm going to be counting down our list of the top 5 worst horror movies you should never watch, part 3. Before we begin, be sure to stick around until the end of the video where I'll be responding to some of your comments. And with that, let's jump in. In at 5, the Human Centipede 3 final sequence.
Our prison has the highest violence rates, legal and medical costs than any other institution in the US correctional system.
Now, that preview makes you think this film could in fact be somewhat passable, right? Well, you're wrong. I just haven't shown you the 30+ Human Centipede sequence yet. Now, if you have watched the first or second Human Centipede movies, then you'll know exactly what you're in for. Gross out visuals hell-bent on topping their predecessor. Now, many didn't expect Tom Six to return for Human Centipede 3, especially after the barrage of hate and many angrily vacating the theatre during the screenings of the first 2 movies. Yet, here he is. Now, it may be hard to believe, but this third film is drastically more horrific than the first 2. And Dieter Latta returns once more as the demented one in charge. However, this time as Bill Boss, the sadistic warden of a Texas prison which is failing. What descends is something truly disturbing and stomach-turning, with Variety even stating, I quote, "Tom Six's largest scaled and most lamentable entry yet in the gross out horror series manages to be completely obnoxious even before the gross stuff kicks in." Surprisingly, Hollywood legend Eric Roberts made an appearance in the movie. I guess he'll accept any role at this point. The entire film is a horror gimmick that was dead upon arrival. The film entirely lacks substance, cinematic fortitude, and storytelling value. Instead, all it has to show is a solid 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, and even that is too high. Coming in at number 4, Blood Diner 1987.
As you can see, the atmosphere is lovely.
This train wreck was released back in 1987 and follows 2 brothers who are entrusted by their uncle to uphold the ritualistic cannibalism of the ancient cult of Shitar. In order to do so, they have to prepare a feast of sacrifice for the resurrection of their goddess. Yeah, it felt dumb even saying that. However, the 2 brothers are not alone in the task. They're joined by the animated brain and genitals of their uncle. I really wish I was joking, but I'm not. They go on to kill unsuspecting women in an attempt to get all the required body parts needed for a blood feast to resurrect their Egyptian goddess. Now, what's truly baffling is that this film holds a 50% approval. However, this is based on 5 reviews, with one reviewer stating, "I had a blast watching Blood Diner. It is funny, full of some excellent death scenes, and just a lot of fun to watch in general." I wildly disagree, but to each their own. The film literally has a scene which shows the 2 brothers attend a topless aerobics class and gun down everyone in the place. Of course, there had to be unnecessary nudity. A truly terrible horror movie can't exist without it, right? Coming in at 3, The Beast of Yucca Flats, 1961.
Always on the prowl, looking for something or somebody to kill. Quench the killer's thirst.
This film is honestly a joke, and perhaps one of the worst things I've ever seen, and that is saying a lot. Released in 1961 and directed by Coleman Francis, yeah, dude has a last name for the first name and a first name for his last name. Baffling. Anyway, the film follows a defecting Soviet scientist who is hit by a nuclear explosion near Yucca Flats and roams around as a beast. Because of course, it wouldn't kill you. No, just mutate you. Now, some of the films on our list, including this one, gain notoriety for being featured on Mystery Science Theater 3000, which, for those who don't know, was an American television series which followed evil scientists who forced a host and a bunch of captive robots to watch bad B-movies, and forced to comment on them in order to remain sane. It's comical and introduced us to some of the worst, which has been a blessing and of course a curse. From the off, the movie was doomed to fail. It starred Tor Johnson, a former wrestler, and the movie was filmed in silent, with voiceovers and sound effects added later. Yeah, So, as you would expect, the result was something truly horrendous, a movie where the picture and sound in no way sync up, and the characters only speak when their faces are off camera. The action scenes are laughable, and the effects are atrocious, even for the 60s. Honestly, there's not much to say about this film other than it's bad. It's just really, really bad. Coming in at 2, Creepshow 3, 2006. Now, I'm sure some will argue with me about this number because Creepshow seems to have one of the most dedicated and passionate fan bases. However, I do not exist in that fan base and have no problem all over this movie. Released in 2006, Creepshow 3 is the second sequel to Creepshow, which was released all the way back in 1982, and features 5 new tales of horror: Alice, the radio, Cool Girl, the Professor's Wife, and Haunted Dog. All bad, all unworthy of your time. Now, the fan base around Creepshow has always been loud and intense, and that is because it was built by George Romero and Stephen King, 2 horror giants. The success of the first 2 films even led King and Romero to the small screen for Tales from the Dark Side. And 20 years later, along came Creepshow 2, and then out of the mud crawled Creepshow 3, a sequel which was supposed to titillate and terrify audiences, and guess what? It did neither of those things. It performed so terribly, it received 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not one person in the whole world thought this movie was deserving of a rating. Now, many credit that lackluster performance due to King and Romero stepping away from the project, which is probably for the best, honestly. The film tried its hardest to bank on the fan popularity of the franchise, but alas, the writers and directors had almost zero knowledge of what makes for an effective horror movie. All in all, the film is a mishmash of cringe, special effects, and sloppy character development. Honestly, the character development almost doesn't even exist, and of course, don't get me started on the laughable vignettes that attempt to link together all of the short films in this anthology. It's a joke. And finally, coming in at number 1, Manus, the Hands of Fate, 1966.
I am Torgo. I take care of the place while the master is away.
We only want to know where Valley Lodge is.
Which way do we go? There is no way out of here.
Now, I should begin by saying that this film has an overall rating of 1.9 out of 10 on IMDb. Yeah, that's how fantastic this movie is. 1.9. If you're unfamiliar, which I'm sure a lot of you will be, this film was released in 1966 and follows a family who get lost on the road and stumble upon a hidden underground devil-worshipping cult, led by the fearsome master and his servant Torgo. Now, you may think that the plot doesn't sound all bad, right? Just you wait. The film stars no one of merit. I know this because their IMDb pages don't have pictures, and that in itself speaks volumes. The film did in fact receive a lot of attention, and in retrospect I think this is why it received the high rating it did. Again, 1.9, because honestly it deserves much worse. To begin, Manus, the Hands of Fate literally translates to hands, the hands of fate. Yeah, I'm not joking. And this is all thanks to the writer, director, editor, and star of the film, Harold P. Warren, who alleged that anyone could make a good horror film, but I'm guessing he just chose not to. Now, this isn't one of those films that is so bad it's good. It's literally so bad it's bad, and then bad again. Horror Freak News even stated, "It isn't one of those flicks that happen to be so wretched that it's actually enjoyable. It's just wretched." Shots fired. Now, following the release of the film, the creator either had a wake-up call or was feeling the heat, because Warren quickly claimed that he felt Manus was the worst film ever made, and he suggested that it might make for a passable comedy if it were to be redubbed. Just give up. Nothing can salvage this train wreck. Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with that list? Were there any terrible horror movies that we missed? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below, and perhaps we can do part 4. Before I go though, I just want to respond to a few comments from one of our last videos. Top 5 scary books that should be turned into a horror movie. Courtney Pye said, "Lucy always reads a handful of comments and Jack reads 1, if any at all, and then rushes off." Whoa. Shots fired. I'm gonna have to talk to Jack about this. I'm so sorry. I didn't know he was treating you guys that way. Alucard Vladimir said, "I'm so glad I watched this because I've been looking for the name of the one novel I read when I was young, and now I know it. Thanks, Lucy." Haunted. Again, you're amazing, Lucy. You're very welcome. I had also forgotten the name of that book until researching this list. I'm thinking about revisiting it, although I don't know if I could go through the pool, you know. The Juice Beetle said, "This channel needs a new host." Well then, no fun videos for you. Mama Bear said, "Lucy, I love this video. What about the Divine Comedy of Dante's Inferno? I would love to see that in a movie. Please read this in your next video. Please." Done. I'm being nice because I'm sick. If I hadn't been sick, it would not have made it into a video. That book is great and terrifying and disturbing. It may be a little too much to be turned into a movie, but I like where your head's at. And on that disturbing note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another scary vid. And until next time, see you later.